Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Okay. If everybody would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with the recognition of the Works Award for Excellence in Education, Ms. Elizabeth McKee and Ms. Cheryl Matthew. That the Board of Education will recognize Ms. Elizabeth McKee, 7th grade teacher, resource teacher at Huntley Middle School, for being named 2016 recipient of the Works Award for Excellence in Education, as well as all of the 2016 nominees. The other nominees were Jan Nelson, 8th grade language arts teacher at Huntley Middle School, Emily Larson, speech pathologist at Earl John School in Brooks Elementary, and Debbie Prowitz, 1st grade teacher at Brooks Elementary School. I would just like to congratulate our winner, Elizabeth, and also our 3 other nominees. So congratulations.
Well, good evening. I'm Cheryl Nath, and I'm part of the Words Committee. And each year, the Words Foundation presents the Words Award for Excellence in Education. The Words Award was established in 1989 to honor the memory of William, Alva, and Jean Wertz, all of whom were educators in DeKalb. Mrs. Mary Conde contacted the Wertz family members in 1988 and raised money to set aside staff recognition through the DeKalb Education Foundation. She herself passed away in 2007. The Words Award is intended to encourage those high standards of innovative achievement that bring quality to a public school system and vitality to a community. It is made available annually to recognize the distinguished service of an outstanding individual who raise young people's sights or promote a program or organization that lifts students' sense of human values and purpose. Selection of the Words Award was made from persons nominated by District 428 staff and was based upon the nominee's ability to positively influence, motivate, and inspire students. The Words Committee members are Dr. Jenny Huber, Dr. Norman Stahl, Ms. Connie Roman, Billy M., Mary Lynn Buckner, Bernie Levine, and myself. The 2016 nominees for the Words Award for Excellence in Education are sick tonight. So we only have one. If Jan Nelson could come up, please. Like our flowers back. Congratulations. Many letters were written on behalf of Jan, and they spoke of her dedication to kids and getting them to like literature and to read, and that some of her kids even attached sonnets. So it hopes to persuade the committee. I don't believe Emily Larson is here. I don't believe she is.
Keeps the eye closed.
I can't connect.
And now it is my honor to present the 2016 Words Award to the recipient, 7th grade resource teacher at Huntley Middle School, Elizabeth McKee. Then we have this nice plaque, which is not good for the refrigerator, but I hope you can find somewhere to hang it, okay, on behalf of us, and a check for $500. Wow.
Next, we have the recognition of our 20-year service awards, that the Board of Education will recognize the following employees for their 20 years of service to the DeKalb School. And this is
Does this thing work? Yes. Small button.
Must be doing something. There you go. There it is. I just needed professional help. It's my privilege tonight to be able to recognize a number of people who have accomplished a serious milestone, that of working with the district and making a difference in the lives of, I'll just talk about it. Making a difference in the lives of so many kids for so long. And so we have several people that we want to recognize tonight because they have made a difference for 20 years in District 428. So we'd like to be able to ask you to come up. We have a little something for you, and the board would like to express their appreciation. The first one, Mr. Grant Boyer. Grant started when he was 12. He has the privilege of being a middle school assistant principal, so enviable position. Another that we have tonight is Donna Cerny, an administrative assistant. The office assistant at Little John School, Shannon Collenby. We recognize her the same. We'll send her recognition tomorrow. The media center assistant at Clinton Rosette, Lynette French. The homeschool liaison at Jefferson School, Hortensia Gonzalez. We'll recognize them and applaud for them whether they're here or not. So if they're not here, please applaud extra loud. The head custodian at DeKalb High School, David Gosnell. How about English teacher at DeKalb High School, Erin Jordan? Elementary head custodian, Susan Kramer. Physical education teacher, Clinton Rosette, Jennifer Montavon. Language arts teacher at Huxley Middle School, Janice Nelson. You are just the gifter tonight. That's an English teacher at heart. She corrected my grammar. And it needs it a lot. Health education teacher at Clinton Rosette, Sharon Oxnavon. Founders 5th grade teacher, Chris Perkovich. English teacher from DeKalb High School, Kelly Powell. How about science teacher, Ann Schultz? Social studies teacher, DeKalb High School, Judy Stafford. Maintenance for the district, Paul Velasquez. And a teaching assistant in special education resource at Clinton Rosette, Cynthia Wig.
Next, we'll recognize district retirees.
Ready? We have a number of people who are retiring. Some are here tonight, some are not. But we have a lot of very experienced and quality people that we want to recognize who, again, have made such an incredible difference in the lives of so many kids. We want to show our appreciation. And the first one who's noted tonight is Christine Perkovich. Somebody will just... Next one is Nancy Bratner. Make sure you get your paper. It's always sad to see these people go, but isn't it great to be able to launch them into this next phase? Know that incredible things are going to continue to happen. Next is Linda Devine. How about Gail Teal? Year people, we talk over their being congratulated. Retirees, we wait. They deserve it. Lance Gakowski. And a rerun again. Judy Stanstrom. Janice Nelson. I recognize you. I met you. Let him retire at 42 these days. needs some. How about Lori and she? Deborah Reynolds. Elizabeth McKee. Susan Wood. Cindy Lofthouse. And this is her last board meeting. She keeps telling us it's the last of everything. Oh, you have one more? Okay.
How are you, Hunter? Where are you? I know we got to ask you this.
Jeff Smith. Robert Hirsch. Casey Maskell. Anyone sees Casey harassing, he should have been here. You would expect me to harass him. How about Joan Bedford? I've done very well tonight because she says them out here phonetically for me, but Joan Bredenick. I get it? Well, she wasn't here to hear Butcher. That is our retirees that we're recognizing for the evening.
Congratulations to our board award nominees and winners and our service honorees and our retirees. Thank you so much for the service to this. Next we have public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Okay, first we have Christine Betts. She's going to speak on retirement.
I didn't know that Dr. City Laptops didn't have your towel.
Is it coming speaking?
Yeah. Anyway, I have 3 retirees from my department, and Judy Staff is here with us. Jeff Smith and Bob Hirsch are the other 2 who are leaving, and then I added Cindy to the bottom of the list. So, over my career, I've had the pleasure of working with Judy Staff, Bob Hirsch, and Jeff Smith. All 3 are amazing teachers who mold students' minds and character with their love of history and dedication to the profession. For me, they've also been invaluable mentors and friends. I first met Judy Staffstrom while I was a substitute teacher. We had front door duty together and bonded over U.S. government. When I was hired a few years later, our bond of government continued to grow, despite the fact that she was a lover of Jefferson and I Hamilton. Judy is not only an amazing teacher who encourages students to rise to her standards, but also a caring advisor. In my first year of teaching, when I was nearly drowning under the load of 3 unfamiliar preps, she selfishly gave me all of her materials and was always willing to answer a question, no matter how silly or trivial it may seem. When I was unsure if I was capable enough to teach AP US history, she assured me I was. And when I was hesitant about applying for the area coordinator position, She told me to go for it and gave me her support. 10 years ago, Bob Hirsch was assigned as my official mentor. I was hired on Thursday and started work the following Monday. When I arrived, he gave me my first Barb Pride sweatshirt. Then he started talking excitedly about the French Revolution. His passion was contagious. While I always liked ancient history, I began to love it. We soon shared a fascination with mummies, the Reign of Terror, and of course, the Black Plague. This was a fascination few could understand, but made our bond stronger and led to amazing Christmas gifts, like a Marie Antoinette doll whose head pops off. Push a button on her back. Jeff Smith is a newer member of the department, but an old timer in the district. I had reservations about Jeff because he was one of them, an administrator, who'd returned to the dark side of teaching. My hesitation was completely unfounded, as Jeff is an amazing guy. As a fan of Laffy Taffy jokes, he instantly had a place in my heart with his goofy cow and tractor jokes. While we rarely collaborated, as we always taught different classes, Jeff has been an unwavering supporter during my first year as AC, offering valuable advice from his vast experience. Maya Angelou once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made me feel." These three wonderful people have made me feel loved and supported my entire career. Without their influence, I'd be neither the teacher nor the person. Each is going on a new journey, and I wish them the best. I can only hope that I can have the same impact on others that each one of them has had. Please know that I will never forget you. Forget how you made me feel. And this is for Dr. City Lockdown. There is only one bar. Woohoo!
And she's speaking of screening in the district.
I'm a parent of two students in the district at Rosette and DeKalb High School. My name is Kate Weigel, and I would like the board to consider the educational and academic value of screening film screenagers growing up in the digital age at high school and junior high. And this is an opportunity that I've already spoken to Dr. Mueller about, and he suggested that we present it to the board and see what they think. The film deals with one of the biggest parenting problems of our time, and possibly one of the biggest learning and developmental issues that schools face. And, the film is designed to empower kids to navigate the digital world in the best way. To find balance, it focuses on teens and families opening a discussion on how to mindfully live in our digital world. The film in no way challenges efforts to integrate technology into the classroom. On the contrary, it has broad educational and academic value as it presents the current scientific research on the subjects of screen usage, attention, cognition, empathy, and other issues that are impacting teen development in ways that we don't understand fully yet. I believe there's a huge desire for guidance on these issues on the part of parents and possibly teachers. The film speaks powerfully to young people in ways that parents and teachers have not been able to, and can help possibly bridge a generational divide. And the film is also appropriate for middle school and high school students. Ideally, I would like to have the film screened in the schools and an evening showing for parents and community members, and hopefully before the end of the school year. I brought a little bit of information from the website, and I have the name of the website at the bottom of the page so that you can see the educational materials and the trailer, the movie trailer. So I hope you will seize this opportunity that I would like to help organize, and I'm sure that our students and families will benefit. So thank you for your time. Are there any questions about, I did put a little information in the letter there about how it would work.
Thank you. Next, we have board committee reports and correspondence. Any board members? Next up is presentations. District 428's implementation of Senate Bill 100. Dr. Jenny Huber, Ms. Christy Meyer, Mr. Tim Vincent, and Ms. Brooke Condon. And this is an informational discussion.
Good evening. We are going to spend a couple of minutes just giving you a very brief overview of Senate Bill 100 and really what that is going to look like for District 428. And I just want to say that it's been a very collaborative experience. I believe we started the meeting last fall, maybe. And there were administrators, teachers, parents involved in the conversations. And so the subcommittee, we each took ownership of a subcommittee, and now this is the culmination of the work that took place. So Tim's going to start off by telling you a little bit of background about Senate Bill 100, and then we'll go.
Sure. So Senate Bill 100 is the common name. It's where it sort of gained its notoriety as it came to the Senate. The formal name is Public Act 4456. So just in case you see, discipline laws, as far as Illinois, it goes by two different names. For tonight's purpose, we'll let the familiar name of Senate Bill 100. So just a brief overview. It's really a progressive overview of school discipline law. It really focuses on the number of days that, or how out-of-school suspension has been used throughout the state of Illinois in excess. So I think most educators would agree that out-of-school suspensions are sort of an antiquated view of how to govern consequences for offenses and things like that. So this law sort of addresses that. One of the first things that it does, one of the basic things that it does, is it eliminates zero tolerance policies whatsoever. That includes sort of 3 strikes and you're out kind of formulaic kind of discipline and things like that. Also, from the administrator's point of view, sort of the onus is on us to limit out-of-school suspensions as much as possible, to the greatest extent possible, and look at alternatives to suspensions as much as possible. Whereas in the past, certain offenses might sort of be automatic suspensions, that's no longer allowed. There's also a very specific part of the law where it sort of designates the exact rationale that administrators have to prove, the burden of proof to suspend kids for a certain number of days. So the first it designates as suspension of three days or less can only be used if the student's continued presence in school is a threat to school safety or disruption to the learning environment. And the most important part of that, I think, is the student's continued presence in school. So it's not looking at, they formally did something that was a disruption to the environment or that was a threat to school safety. It's that we as administrators, to suspend a student for 1 to 3 days would have to prove that that student's continued presence in the school would be a threat to school safety or disruption. So that's very different than sort of what we currently do at Illinois. The next, and this includes expulsions, but this is 4 to 10 days. It goes further. So in addition to the previous 1 to 3 day requirements, it's also all other available interventions have been exhausted, or a student being suspended between 4 and 10 days. All other interventions have been exhausted, and the student poses a threat to the safety of other students in the school community, or substantially disrupts the operation of the school. And again, that's a continued presence in school would do that, and all other interventions have been exhausted. So one of the things that this sort of highlights, with the exception of really 2 things, and that's a substantial threat to a school employee or an individual at school, or a weapon would be sort of the exclusions of this law. But in addition to all other interventions have been exhausted. So one of the things is professional development for all staff, including the use or encouraging the use of restorative justice model as part of this law, and to use non-exclusionary, so not rely on out-of-school suspensions as we have in the past in the state.
So one of the subcommittees was tasked with looking at our handbook and the policies and procedures and seeing how they align to the Senate bill. And in the process of looking at that, one of the things the committee decided to do is look at some model handbooks that were out there. So we as a committee looked at a couple of different model handbooks, which are handbooks that are aligned to ISBE language, all of the current legislation, so things that you have to put in there about policies and procedures, new laws and things like that. So we landed on using the IPA model handbook. So what the committee did is took the IPA handbook and compared it to more policies and procedures that were in current handbooks. And in the process, we kind of discovered some discrepancies between language that could be interpreted differently between the three grade levels. And so rather than have three separate handbooks, excuse me, we took and aligned all the district and board policies and procedures in one district level handbook. And then the middle school and high school will have appendices that attach on that with building things that are specific only to the middle school or high school. So in doing that, all the language on things like attendance policies, medical things, all of those things will be aligned to the district instead of just small discrepancies in language that could lead to different interpretation at different levels. We thought that was really important, especially with the redistricting as families were going from school to school. The other thing that will happen with that is that we'll be able to, every year the IPA puts out updates so that any new legislation that came out about things that have to be included in handbooks will be sent to us, which will kind of lighten our load at doing the research and making sure that we're including all new statutes and policies in our handbook. One of the areas that we did add to the handbook that's new language for us this year, and it's kind of come out of the district's work on inclusion and equity, is that we did include a paragraph talking about holiday parties, particularly at the elementary schools, and that coming from a framework of equity and inclusion in the district, the new district policy will include language very specific that holiday parties will no longer be sponsored as a whole in the elementary schools. Schools will still have celebrations, but they'll focus more on school pride and PBIS initiatives and following our social skills education rather than holiday traditions that confuse. So that language is specific in the handbook.
So as Mr. Vincent had mentioned, the essence of the Senate Bill 100 is for us to take a look at discipline in a different way. In regards to, we're looking at what the function of that student's behavioral choice was, and we're going to address that through some supportive needs. Also, the essence of this bill is also to make sure that students are continuing their education, even if they have to be excluded from the general classroom, then we need to make sure that they're continuing to learn. So we, as the committee, we have designated a new alternative learning environment called the CROWS Landing. CROWS standing for Creating Opportunities Without Suspension. Thanks to Jill Mather, one of our DHS counselors came up with that name. So what that's going to look like at the middle school level is we are going to have a supportive model of one of the administrators, a social worker, and an instructional assistant. The instructional assistant works closely with the teachers to have the materials that the students need to continue their education while they're in this in the CROWS Landing. What's neat about this, what's wonderfully supportive about this model is that not only are we addressing the academic needs, but we're also addressing the social and emotional needs that most likely the challenges that the student was facing, we need to address those social, emotional, behavioral needs so that there's not reoccurring behavior, okay, as well as giving them the
equipping them with the tools they need to reintegrate into the general classroom after being in the Crow's Landing. So that's how it would look at the middle school level. At the high school level, the model is similar in that we will have an administrator, a social worker, and in this case, a special education teacher working collaboratively, again, to facilitate that model, that supportive model, where students will continue their education, but also we're addressing their social emotional needs. And a typical day may include where, for example, the social worker comes in, they set up goals for the day, but also goals for what they can accomplish when they get back into the general classroom. They have group-like social work time at that time. Then they would have supported education throughout the day. We are looking at a great collaborative model with partners in the community to come in and also serve a role in this supportive model. And then at the end of the day, a wrap up. Take a look at the goals again with the social worker coming in. That would be then finished up with journaling and goal setting for the next day.
Another piece of this is providing professional development for everybody who works with our students. And so we need to provide professional development on Senate Bill 100 and how that's going to impact our current discipline system that we have in place, but also just daily life in the classroom, and also how we can tie PPIS and really strengthen that piece as well. De-escalation strategies. So for adults who are working with students, realizing what that trigger is for that student and helping that student de-escalate. But on the other end of that is teachers also realizing what triggers a student may be pushing and being able to de-escalate themselves so that a confrontation between a student and an adult doesn't increase. The effects of trauma and chronic stressors. Our students are dealing with that on a daily basis, and so realizing how that impacts brain development, how that impacts academic success, how that impacts their interaction with their peers. Our cultural competency, we will be pushing out that professional development throughout the entire year next year, and just really having our staff truly understand how the impact of the lack of knowledge of cultural competency, how that really does impact the interactions with our students and our marginalized populations. And then the adolescent brain. The adolescent brain is still developing, and so I think that when we work with teenagers, we know that, but we sometimes forget that. And the adolescent brain is still developing, and so an awareness of that, and just then, okay, so it's still developing, so what are some things that I can do to be supportive of the teenager in the classroom? And the other thing that I didn't put on here is, and Tim alluded to this, is that this is a very student-centered approach. It used to be that it was very black and white in the handbook. If you did this, this is the consequence. What Senate Bill 100 is telling us that it has to be on a case-by-case basis, and we really do need to take. That's why the cultural competency piece and the effects of trauma and chronic stressors are so very, very important, because we do need to take each student on a case-by-case basis and then decide what that's going to look like for that student.
So what will we need in order to facilitate and respond to the Senate Bill 100 mandate? Well, we will need space, but we do have already space available in both of the middle schools for their Crow's Landing. And then at the high school, we've already talked about the space that we'll need for Crow's Landing at the high school level as well. Then personnel-wise, yes, we will need to hire a special ed teacher to facilitate Crow's Landing at the high school level. We will also need an instructional assistant at both the middle school, both middle schools, so one in each. But we already have the FTE or instructional assistant here at DHS, so we will not be that FTE for that instructional assistant. To just wrap up, something that Mr. Vincent mentioned earlier, when we were talking, it really resonated with me that when we were talking about Senate Bill 100, see, Tim, he's been working right now towards your superintendent's, correct? And sitting amongst many other districts talking about Senate Bill 100, my takeaway was that, and as Tim shared, was that we should be very proud of how we're addressing this need in DeKalb, because we're looking at this as an opportunity to change what we've been doing. And many districts are looking at this as a burden, something we just have to do. I really believe that everyone on this committee did take this on and go, wow, what a great opportunity for us to reflect upon our practices and do what's right for students in a supportive way. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was a real big takeaway for me.
You mentioned, Christine, that this one person, at least one person that will be hired for this will be special ed.
Yes, sir.
And special ed traditionally has carried an awful lot of stigma, which when a student is assigned into or works with special ed, by the time they are done, they are tracked badly or onto a poorer educational and academic track. What is the need for special ed specifically for the person that is being hired?
Okay. Specifically, I believe our group feels strongly that the special ed teacher comes with the specialization or the strategies to differentiate for a number of different students. Many of the students, and based on our data that we looked at, unfortunately, right now, there is a correlation between the students who were receiving needed in the past had been suspended. A large percent of those students did also have individual education plans. So we feel as though if we're going to hire for this position, why don't we hire a special ed teacher that is coming with that set of tools to differentiate for the needs of the students. Now, remember that this teacher is a teacher, a specialized teacher, and the students who are going to the Crow's Landing, they don't see this teacher outside of Crow's Landing being a special ed teacher. So this isn't that stigma that you may be referring to. I don't foresee that being a problem.
One of the purposes, as I understand it, of Senate Bill 100 is to get the student tracked back into a regular classroom, becoming a regular student and a regular member of society. And the more you bring up the idea that somebody is going to be brought in with a set of attachments as they leave, by the time they are out, will they have become less?
There's no what you're referring to is there's no step towards special ed by being in Crow's Landing. There's no step towards that. This is truly, we're just staffing Crow's Landing with a specialist in order to address the many diverse needs that the students who are coming into Crow's Landing will have.
Is that by law, the special ed student has to have their special ed services or it's considered behavior. So if this position is staffed by just a regular certified teacher with a gen ed certificate, no matter what the background is, any student who has any special ed services, even speech, OT, PT, cannot receive services in there and not have that considered to be exclusionary. So that would count towards their 10 days towards the manifestation. But if a certified special ed teacher is in there, they can provide services to any group of students, and it's not considered.
We also looked at the skill set too. So we also looked at the two things that we had looked at had been possibly stepping into the social worker for behavioral needs and emotional support and things like that. And when we landed on a special education teacher, because generally students that will come in likely, students that are suspended more often need academic help in a wide variety of subjects. And in that way, special education teachers are taught in a very interdisciplinary manner in specific content areas within their training. They also have training in behavioral support as well. So it's sort of more of a well-rounded person that would fit the bill of most kids that would be in Crow's Landing versus strictly the social emotional needs addressed by social work.
And that's what I just wanted to bring up, the fact that the special education teachers do have much better skill set in terms of dealing with social emotional issues. It's not restricted to special education, it's any student at all. Who comes in most likely escalated or upset about the employment. Plus, we're all talking about behavior in most cases.
And in some cases, it could be a partial way. Right. We're going to discuss that as well. Traditional in-school suspension, which we purposely changed the name to be different than in-school suspension, is because it's not a traditional in-school, obviously, and traditional in-school, it would be full days. It would generally 1 or 3 or 5 full days of in-school suspension. This is something that could be utilized in a variety of different ways, flow in and out of there, depending on the specific needs of the students and where they need support throughout their school day.
Yeah, a couple of questions. We have on the backup material a copy of the current, I guess it's the current parent student handbook. Is that the current one?
It's the right. That's the draft that Brooks told us.
I would like to see a copy of the handbook, including the existing language, and then lined out with proposed new language. I'm trying to understand. Here's another question, actually. For instance, Senate Bill 100. I haven't read it, so I don't know what it says, other than what I've told and heard on board. For instance, how does Senate Bill 100 relate to, as an example, the change to the holiday party policy? How is it driven by Senate Bill 100?
So it started, the Senate Bill 100 spurred the idea that we need to really take a look at the entire handbook and really change it and look at outside models. And then
because there are some things that would be required to be changed as a result of Senate Bill 100, but that particular one, as an example, would not necessarily have to be changed according to Senate Bill 100. That's why I would like to see a copy of the parent student handbook or any other document that we're going to change as a result of Senate Bill 100 with the typical line out and then an addition or a change next to it. So that I could look at it and comparatively say, yeah, I agree with that or I don't agree with that. I think it agrees with the language of Senate Bill 100 or I don't think it agrees. So you're giving us an overview, and of course we don't have, I don't have anyway, the advantage of having read through Senate Bill 100.
But the student handbooks for the middle and elementary and high school are online on the teacher's website.
Yeah, but they won't be on, well, that's what I'm asking for, is can we put them online for the board review with the potential changes? We'll be voting on this, right?
You would have to do that. I mean, that, we're asking that's a lot of work for them to go through and line that up.
Well, how do you do it? I mean, when you decide what to change or add or whatever.
So what we did is we took the IPA model handbook, which is
IPA.
Elementary Association model handbook. When we took that, basically put it on a piece of paper, and then went through our handbook and took each of the similar category and replaced anything that was specific board policy for our district, put that into their language, but that way we were making sure that we had every category covered. So there weren't a whole lot of changes that were made in UK other than the way it was worded to make sure that we had everything the same at all three levels. So there weren't decisions made of, oh gosh, we should change how we look at attendance, or we should change. It was much more putting it in a succinct order.
And Carrie, the IPA handbook was already vetted and was demonstrated to be absolutely compliant with Senate law. So the idea was why.
So it's a model for compliance. But the statute probably doesn't say how you achieve compliance of that. It probably just says you have to comply with these kinds of things. And how you comply, for instance, Crow's Landing. That's our idea then of how we would comply with that once we're part of Senate Bill 100.
Yes.
Probably what would be, we do have the start of, we didn't start with our whole handbook and cross things out and adjust it with new things to supplement it. We actually went, did it in reverse. We took the model student handbook and laid it out and then supplemented that from there and changed things that would be specific to our district. So that may be a start, is to start with the model student handbook. I don't know if that would help. For what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about engineering changes and things like that, right? And we always did line up, and then the whole committee could look at it,
right?
And say, yeah, we agree or don't agree, or what about this, somebody forgotten something, or another implication, something to think about. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do at the committee level.
Yeah, they did do.
Yeah. I guess I'll start by reading Senate Bill 100. But when it comes to voting, I want to know whether what we're proposing, in my mind, makes sense as compliance. And it seems to me a lot easier if you look through an existing document, whether it's IPA or whether it's our document, right? And you have the added changes or the takeouts or whatever right there side by side. And that to me is the simplest way.
So because they use the IPA template, which was already approved, showing the consistent with edits, Senate Bill 100, you're talking about, you want to see where they make it specific for 28.
Yeah, because I think, for instance, if you go back to the definition of profanity or obscenity, the way that the court determined it, the Supreme Court said it's according to the community standard. So every community sets their own standard. So the IPA is a good start, but not necessarily exactly right.
Right.
For any specific.
Yeah. That was your start.
That was your starting point. Yeah. So that, again, back to, maybe I should just read these documents first and see if I can be satisfied with that. But when I vote on something, I want to know what I'm voting on. Right. That's what I'm a little unsettled about right now. Sure.
And the Senate Bill 100 doesn't require a lot of specific language in the handbook. There are parts of what we do every day that we need to look at and examine if it matches Senate Bill 100, but it's much more about the policy and how we go about things. So things like we have to, if a student is suspended, we have to have an integration plan, making sure our referral forms document there have been parent contacts and due process, that we've documented previous intervention. So those are more things that administrators, professional development on, and we need to be on the same page as an active handbook.
They're procedural.
Yes.
And I'd be glad to go through that. I'm limited to 3 slides and giving the same version of the law, the overview, the snapshot of the law. But I would be glad to go through the law and sort of show you each part of it, how we addressed each part of the law. Because there are certain parts of the law that I wasn't able to share in here today, and we addressed it through things that would be considered sort of trivial, like making small changes on the office disciplinary referral in each school. That seems like sort of a small little change we would make, but that made us compliant with the law, whereas we wouldn't have it before. So I would be glad to go through that with you. But
thanks, Tim. I'll read stuff.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so devil's advocate. Why can't we comply without hiring anybody?
So we could, what would happen then is that we would, there would be a lot less at our disposal as far as the supportive atmosphere to remediate behavior. So what would likely happen is that while we wouldn't, get out of compliance with the law, when administrators would deal with specific dealing with specific consequences, we wouldn't, suspend kids outside of the realm that we're sort of required to. But there also, students would come back in a shorter time without that emotional support and without that, remediation that they need to correct the behavior. So it would likely be, recurring over and over and over because of that, if they're not getting that, the support that they need to correct the behavior.
So these obviously this is going to affect the crowd that we have now, right? So we're in a sense just offering more services to the kids we have, which is great. But there's no way to do it without hiring more people. And so is this sort of is there any, like, since this is a requirement, is there any, input from the NIAS as to the other members of the board, committee or whatever? Is there any, input from the state as to, they may pay us, more, to offer us more money to?
It's not funded, I mean, but.
This is another unfunded.
It is, but the issue is, if we don't have a certified staff, it's a certified staff member, it's not considered to be in class, and so that's considered exclusion. So having a special education teacher, if we don't have a special ed, because we will have special education students in this occasionally. And if we don't have a special education teacher there, we're not in compliance, and it's considered an exclusionary practice. It's like putting them in school suspension with an assistant, which we can't do.
And the special education teachers we have now simply can't handle the ed program.
Well, they're all teaching 5 classes.
Yeah, so what Howard said about, you've read it obviously, it's under 100 parts of it at least. And the conceptual aspect that I think I understood from what you said was that it has the intent of bringing these kids back in mainstream and making it inclusionary, right?
Yes.
And I would wonder about Crow's Landing, and I can see the practicality of it, I can see the additional help that could be brought by a specially educated and qualified leader in that group. At the same time, and I think maybe this is, if not, but as soon as the person goes to that location, they're known by everyone else. That everyone else all gets to see this, and they say, yeah, that's that special class over there or something. But doesn't that fly? Somebody do good things there with a general concept.
Okay, so if we suspend or expel a student, it goes under school record. And that then affects them.
Employment, perhaps.
Okay, so if we don't suspend them and expel them, and let's say they're truants, that's why they're in this program, because when they're truant, at some point, so what we're doing is offering them education in lieu of keeping them out of school with a certified teacher so that they can be successful. So students who have a need, we're giving them the resources so they can be successful, which when they are raising graduation, good things come with. So it's an alternative to what kids rather than have that label. And so they go to a classroom. It's not like special ed teachers would walk around. Teachers would say with a label.
Yeah, but everybody knows communication is smarter than you have to go, so I mean. All right.
I would like to say that. I think the other out of any academic class and put them to work. So it's not something that's going to be for minor behaviors. If we're looking at putting students in there, there has been a very significant violation of some type of school conduct. Kids know that. I mean, so we're not talking about like you were targeted for 3 classes, we're going to put you in here for the day and exclude you from the general education population. This is going to be used as a restorative practice for major inconsistencies in behavior and helping to restore them to a better place. And so it's not a punitive thing for small, major inconvenience for us. It's really meant for things that traditionally would have been an out-of-school suspension, but no longer can get out-of-school suspension. Not that continued.
Did you make a question?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
That's fine. Between the consensus for that.
You can ask further questions. While we are reviewing the handbook that's been produced, and while I pre-read it earlier, I found some inconsistencies and problems in the language, just in the wording and things along that line. Is the group amenable to further editing by any of us if we come across things we want to bring to your attention so that it goes forward with fewer problems in it?
Formatting
and everything else like that.
Howard, that would need to come back to just to talk about. Maybe that would need to be a group discussion or school.
This word doesn't come about anything.
No, but I mean, that's feeding that into discussion. Just as if we would change anything in the
Okay, that brings the question, I think, about timing of this. When do we have proof of compliance? When is this, when do we have to vote on this?
2016.
Okay, so there is time still.
But we have to have it translated into several different languages. So, and that takes time.
And hiring FTE.
And hire FTE and get our systems in place.
So you really have to have action on this in the next board meeting in 2 weeks. That's the question.
I mean, really, we're at the end of the hire.
That was my next question. For the type of person we would try to hire, what's the chance that you could hire them 4 weeks from today instead of 2 weeks?
The further we get towards the next summer, you can't get to 3 classrooms, best people can hire out.
Yeah, the thing that kind of irritates me about the whole deal, nothing to do with you guys. Thank you. Well, it does. I mean, schools have been existing for a long, long time without this, and now here we are at the last moment, having to listen to this and decide whether or not to go forward or make changes or whatever. It's just weird that so many districts have survived for so long.
Well, survives a questionable thing.
Well,
Gary, out of school suspension is indicated. We don't have June Cleaver's not all the way, and then supervise the beaver who gets suspended.
Yeah.
When I sit down there with that great student who was suspended, no supervision, and that's what's happening with the majority of them. They're not being supervised when they're suspended. He was shot and killed at 1:45 in the afternoon. He'd been in school with that. This is not the same society we had 30 years ago.
So what I can do, if you'd like, the version that you have is the PDF version, which has all documents are in Word docs. The proposal is not to print not to print handbooks for students that are Chromebooks this year. So we have an electronic version with electronic table of contents that's much more user-friendly. We can have you move around from place to place in the document with the online table of contents. So I'd like to share that with you, so you unless you prefer the PDF, share that with all.
And what you said, Tim, speaks to a more general thing that I've been harping on for a while now, especially in safety aspects. Every time I see a document, whether it's here or in print, I don't know whether it's the existing one that's approved, whether it's a draft version, whether it's whatever, right? We have all the opportunities in the software to put graphics and watermarks across the face. Why don't we do that? I'm not saying just you guys. I mean, I see this all over the place in this world, right? Whenever you write something, put the date on it and put whether it's draft or revised or approved. Go through whatever authority you need to do so that when we look at this stuff, we'll know what we're looking at. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have non-business consent agenda, that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through F. Do I have a motion? So moved. Discussion?
Yes?
Yes.
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 Next up is business and finance, inter-fund transfer of funds. Andrea Gorla, and this is a discussion and informational item.
Good evening. So again, this is an information item for you this evening, and this is already built into our budget. But I think the main thing I need you to understand is currently right now under school code in this 17-2A. This was passed with a 3-year sunset, meaning that for us to be allowed to transfer money from a transportation fund to other funds will no longer exist at the end of June this year. And because what is happening down in Springfield right now, this bill has not been passed to extend this. So this evening, what we have for you is an information item of what we currently have built into the budget, and that is to do a transfer from our transportation fund for the total amount of $5,250,000, and to move some of that money to the education fund, which was $2,500,000, and then the remaining $2,750,000 to the operations and maintenance. But I do want to alert you that if we hear that this has not been extended, we may transfer additional money. Because if we don't, then that money has to sit in transportation fund and solely be used for transportation purposes. So just to alert you, the dollar amounts that we have here this evening may change. And then we also supplied you with a resolution, just so you can be prepared to what that language will look like after next meeting. Any questions?
If this sits in the transportation fund because it's not used, will it sit indefinitely so that we could be able to have a smaller allocation for transportation next year based on the amount that's sitting there, and then wind up really back at the same place?
Well,
Just a budget, so we're really just doing this like, are we juggling with the left hand and the right?
yeah, and it's the way that we have to levy our money, and because we are hitting our statutory limits at each of these other funds, we have to put the remaining dollars in the transportation fund and then move those with authorization from the school board into the other funds if needed.
Right. You
So it's allowing
mentioned,
us, it's allowing us to take money from one fund and move it to the other funds if we did not have this and that clause sunsets, then that money has to stay in the transportation fund, solely be used for transportation purposes, which would leave the other funds in the deficit fund balance.
until such time as we do a different allocation, at which point we raise the other funds and diminish the transportation fund at the front end rather than the back end.
But we can't do that right now because we're at those tax limits in these other funds. So the only fund that allows us to put the money in right now is the transportation fund. That's why they created actually this whole piece of school for districts who were hitting their tax cap limits and their other funds. It allows you to put money in this transportation fund and then allows you to spend it.
Thank you, Andrea, that explains it.
Yes. Other questions? Thank you.
All right, new business administration. Proposal for additional high school counseling summer hours. Ms. Christie, information.
Okay, so last summer, our high school counselors did a wonderful job of logging the amount of time that they were here, doing the counseling work that they need to do with getting new students in, updating students who have completed work in summer school and need to update their transcripts and choose new classes. Test students who come in new and then place them into classes. Each spring, directors of student services have come to the board asking for support for the counselor work that they do during the summer. This spring, I feel confident coming to you with this proposal because of the work that our counselors did last year in logging all of the hours that they put in to do the work that they have to do. So essentially, they've extended their workload through a good portion of the summer. And as you see in the document that I prepared for you, they showed that they worked an additional 320.5 hours that were unpaid last year. I looked through the law, I showed Ms. Corla that as well. We noticed that they put in the time. Now, the Business and Finance Department then went ahead and did some comparables with our neighboring districts as to what those districts, how many hours or days do those districts allow for their high school counselors. And we came to this amount of hours that we could allot our counselors for this coming summer to be 90 hours each. We have 6 counselors, and each at 90 hours would be that 540 hours. And that would be at the per diem rate. And the reason why is because they are extending what they do during the school year into the summer. So it's the same job, it's just extended into the summer. So that's why there is an increase. The increase is to respond to the number of hours they're actually working and had worked last summer. It is also responsive to neighboring districts of comparable size. Any questions? Yes, Mary.
Is this a common budget?
This exceeds that. It's by 90, almost 94 million dollars.
What was the district, like 1 or 2 of the districts that you looked at for comparison?
Yep, and Rochelle and Kingland were the 2 that were similar size and had a similar number of days in the year. They be compared to other districts as well, but when we looked at that data, it showed that Kingland and Rochelle were similar.
Okay, well, one second, just about numbers. When I divided this out at home a couple days ago, I didn't have the numbers with me, but I came up with something like $170 an hour and $60 or $70 an hour. Why the difference?
Because it is at their per diem an hour rate. So we have counselors that are brand new counselors, and we have those that are veteran counselors. The veteran counselors are making money.
Okay, so that kind of leads into the next question. What if we had counselors all year round? Anybody ever think about that? Does that make any sense at all? I mean, this isn't an increment, obviously, not whole salary, but maybe it's something we have to look at.
I think,
I mean, a certain number of counselors that are here available all the time, and then, you know, just like we do our snow removal, right? I mean, we have a face.
Understood. I think that this, I'm just saying to you that this is responsive to the amount of work that they need to do, and it is also responsive to what our district needs for our counselors to do at this point. But how they spread that through the summer, they have arranged it that there typically is somebody here throughout the summer, but this is a way for us to package it in a way that can be fiscally responsible.
Yeah, but maybe we could hire somebody and be more fiscally responsible, save more money by having 1 or 2 people available all the time, 12 months a year. And then the remainder of that same class of as they are now, and getting per diem what they need to have.
The counselors are members of the collective bargaining unit, and so some of this is dictated by those agreements. Don't forget.
So that you kind of brought me aside from that. Thank you for that remark. The final question I have, I think, is the final. So our registration, this is all high school we're talking about?
This is all high school.
Okay, so our registration hasn't gone up a lot.
We've been doing this every year, long before I there. There's always
the need for more counseling.
Yes.
You've got new students coming in over the summer. As Chris said, we've got some summer school students that they pass their classes, they're scheduled to change.
But ultimately, it's X number of kids at the high school, and that number, that total, hasn't changed remarkably for some time.
Well, you see, it's going to slide, I think it's about $9,000. So, but there's always been, and so every year about this time, the Director of Student Services comes forward and asks for special honors. So, as Andrew said, it's a little higher than we had subsequently. It's basically kind of yearly practice that we come in and try to.
I'm not disputing that the time is needed.
Right.
That the service needs to be delivered. What I'm trying to understand is why. I mean, what's changed
What has changed?
in our delivery of education in the behavior-based counseling about education? If we haven't got that many more people, then something else is driving the requirement for need.
I would say, I'm sorry. This is based on what I'm hearing from the counselors. I can't give you the data right in front of you right now, but I would say mobility is up. We have more students coming in and out, and then back to our schools. And the amount of time that it's taking our counselors, sometimes they're coming in with nothing, Carrie. So they have to assess them, they have to determine where to put a student, and all of that is taking time. So again, that's not giving you part of that data as to, I can't share with you right now what the mobility rate was 5 years ago and what it is now. But based on their feedback to me, I sense, and I'm looking, but I see that they're spending a lot of time assessing students. They're spending a lot of time with that graduation rate and trying to find creative ways to deal with a student who may be struggling socially and emotionally and getting them to a graduation. And to do that, they have to work through getting them the right courses.
I think we need the data. I mean, we need to understand as best we can. I'm intuitive, and I understand what you're saying about it. You look around, you ask your people, and you have a general sense of what you do. I understand that. But if the building cost us $20,000 more this year to heat than last year, and the weather was the same, then I start looking for a broken window so that I don't have to pay the money next time.
I will share with you the data that they gave. It was very comprehensive and very convincing that this is not time, that this is time well spent and needed.
Yeah,
and so I will give you
I'm
that.
not arguing that it's not well spent.
No, understood.
I'm just saying that we don't want it to continue on an upward trend.
I will give you that data prior to.
More than the budget, Right. Yeah, almost $10,000. So we don't want to do that every year for the
Understood.
next.
Understood.
I
I will give you
understand
that
better,
data.
maybe we can cap it or even reduce it.
Absolutely. I will give you that data, and something else that Andrea and I talked about is that they may continue to maintain along of the hours spent so that we can continue to reflect upon this number. I agree with you. I'll give you that data. Okay.
Christy, you mentioned that the counselors are doing a lot of assessment of students on their way, and as they are assessing, are they assessing things that may have already been assessed? Because here we live in the state of Illinois, where we have park tests, we have this test, we have that test. It's coming to us from some other district somewhere. And if we can get a hold of simply what the assessments were that they went through at those other institutions, would we be able to cut down on the amount of work that we ask our counselors to do?
Absolutely no doubt about it. However, that doesn't happen because we put the request out there to get that information, and it doesn't come to us.
I think CPS is now the response.
Yeah.
I remember asking the same question about 4 or 5 years ago, and exactly the same answer. That you ask for the information from the other districts and forget it, it's not there.
Depends on which district, but yes, we're struggling with CPS.
So we're making up, through our budget, the shortfall of CPS complying to our.
Well, our counselors are working very hard to make sure that students are getting the proper education.
So Chris, could you then get the data?
Absolutely.
And then
Sure.
send that actually prior to the board meeting?
I will.
Thanks,
So,
Chris.
and we have a based on the national consensus.
Thank you.
Next, we have approval of Northwestern Illinois Association Satellite Deaf and Hard of Hearing Program for District 428. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the request to host an NIA satellite program for the deaf and hard of hearing students to be housed at Tyler Elementary and Clinton Rosette Middle School, effective the 2016-17 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Okay.
Okay. Requested a brief information back, like if you were gonna look at other schools in the county to see if there were other students in different ages, just wondering if there's more students out there being captured the first time, that obviously are out of the district tuition.
At this point, and this is merely just hearsay, no district has formally, except Sycamore, has formally said that they have interest. But I have heard that there is another district with another student that is also in the grades that we're serving. So at this point, I say it is likely that there will be 2 additional out-of-district students. I sent you an updated based on that, because I learned that yesterday, and I did send you updated, it would end up to be a surplus of 22.
Sorry, did I say that?
At this point, that's what, now, again, what I believe what the districts are doing is waiting for a commitment from the board, and then they'll be approaching us.
I just want to make a comment. Thank you very much for all the information last time and this time. I can't see keeping the kid on the school bus for as long as it would take. So I have to say, yeah, we got to do this. But at the same time, I don't want to see us spending any more money than we absolutely have to.
Understood.
And I worry a little bit if we do some sort of a great marketing job and we get more kids in from other districts nearby, we're taking responsibility for those kids as well as for our kids. And someday when we don't have any money to spend, when our loans are all gone or whatever, then we're responsible for those guys out there as well as for our own. I think that's the downside to the other thing, which is all upside. That word surplus. We actually could not have to spend more money because we're making it more efficient by getting more kids in, but we're taking on more risk. In my mind, we are. If we bring in kids from other districts, educate them here with the special features that we pay money for and so on and so forth. What's the cost per kid? 40K or something, right? Compared to something like 12 or 13K for the general population. So I look at all these numbers and I say, yeah, we want to do the best you can for everybody that's here. But when we start bringing people in from the outside, I just see more risk. I think we have to do it. I think it's a smart thing to do, but I think it's also wise to be aware of it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What kind of risk do you perceive teaching students who are hearing?
The risk is a financial risk and a risk of ethical responsibility to that person in that district that we're taking on. If we send our kids to Algonquin, that need this special education, they're taking on the risk of educating our kids. We're paying them to do it, but they're saying they're going to do it. What happens when big snowstorm hits Algonquin and out here, and they can't do it someday, right? Well, for that particular day, then sorry, it doesn't happen. It's a snow day. But in the bigger picture, what happens when school district ABC, extends itself too far and goes bankrupt? But they were taking care of a bunch of kids for other districts as well. Now, yeah, that's right.
And I would like to say that Northwestern Illinois Association, the Northwestern Illinois Association, who provides the education in Algonquin, is also contracted to provide that education. So we've been entrusting our students, our district students, we've been entrusting them to NIA to do the good work that they do, and they do wonderful work with our students that and we are then contracting them to do that wonderful work here. It's just location that's the difference. One other difference will be that in order to, just one difference that I made, in order to make sure that we were being efficient and fiscally responsible, was the part of being the supervisor of the deaf and hard of hearing. In the past, we would have paid NIA an additional $10,000 to supervise, bring one of their supervisors in, and I would be taking on that supervision here. I have the qualifications, so I'm going to take that on. And I believe it's a good thing too, because then we're invested in this program.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Victoria Baker?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Terry Milano?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes.
Rick Smith?
Yes.
Howard Zalman?
Yes.
Fred Davis?
Yes.
And with that, the meeting will be adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.